CBS Young and the Restless Spoilers. Tessa Porter entered her apartment, her steps quick and purposeful as she tossed her keys onto the kitchen counter. She was already mentally preparing for the rest of the evening, but as she stepped into the living room, her breath caught in her throat. The sight before her froze her in place. ARIA was gone. The small play area where ARIA had been earlier was untouched, the toys scattered as if the little girl had just vanished into thin air. A sinking feeling gripped Tessa's chest. Her heart raced as she hurried to check the bedrooms, calling out ARIA's name, her voice growing more desperate with each empty room she searched. "ARIA, where are you? Baby," her footsteps echoed in the quiet apartment, a harsh contrast to the usual laughter and warmth that filled the space. But there was no sign of her. Her eyes darted to the kitchen, where the faint smell of food lingered, but there was no sign of Mariah. Tessa's mind raced as she tried to make sense of the situation. She turned on her heels and headed straight for the phone. Her fingers trembled as she dialed Mariah's number, her heart pounding in her chest. The phone rang, but there was no answer. She tried again. No answer. Panic began to claw at her insides as Tessa's worrying shifted into something far deeper, more suffocating. Mariah was always reachable. Always. So, why was she not picking up? Why was ARIA gone? And why wasn't Mariah anywhere to be found? Her mind, usually sharp and level-headed, began to spiral as she replayed recent events. Tessa's thoughts went back to the past few weeks, when she had noticed subtle signs of Mariah's increasing distress. The way Mariah had become withdrawn at times, the nights she had spent staring off into space, lost in thought. And then there was the obsession that Tessa had tried to ignore. The way Mariah had fixated on ARIA, on keeping her safe, almost to the point of paranoia. It had all seemed so innocent at first, the protective instincts of a mother figure for a child she loved. But Tessa had seen the dark turn in Mariah's eyes in recent days, the edge of obsession creeping in as Mariah's behavior grew more erratic. Tessa's stomach churned. Slowly, the pieces started to fall into place. The truth, horrifying and undeniable, was beginning to emerge, and Tessa's fear turned to dread. "Mariah," she whispered to herself, shaking her head in disbelief. "What have you done?" Her heart raced as she thought of the one person who could provide clarity. Dominic. Tessa had heard rumors in passing. Nothing solid, nothing concrete, but in her gut, she now knew the truth. Abby and Devon, they had been involved in some secretive, quiet dealings. Tessa had never trusted them fully, but now, as she connected the dots, she realized what had happened. ARIA had been taken, not just from her, but from Mariah as well, and it wasn't just a random act of malice. This was part of a larger plan. A plan to manipulate Mariah, to control the situation, and most terrifyingly, to use her to their advantage. Her breathing quickened and panic set in. She grabbed the phone again, her hand shaking violently. She had to act. There was no time to waste. With trembling fingers, she called the police, hoping against hope that she wasn't too late. As the phone rang on the other end, Tessa's mind spiraled with the possibilities of what could have happened, of what might happen next. When the police answered, Tessa rushed to explain the situation, barely able to keep her composure. "My daughter is missing," she said, her voice cracking with panic. "ARIA, she's gone. And Mariah, I'm afraid she's involved. I think Mariah took her." The officer on the other end spoke calmly, but with urgency. "We'll need to confirm the situation. Mom, can you provide any details about the circumstances? Do you know where she might have gone?" Tessa's thoughts raced as she gave the officer the details she had, the faint clues that had begun to make sense in her mind. Mariah's been acting strange lately. Obsessive. She's been fixated on ARIA, and now she's gone, and so is Mariah. I don't know where they are, but I think they're together. I need help. I need you to find them. The officer promised to send units immediately, but Tessa's stomach twisted with fear and uncertainty. Would they get there in time? Could they track down Mariah and ARIA before it was too late? Tessa didn't know what to do next. She couldn't just sit and wait. She knew she had to act fast. Abby and Devon, with their hidden motives, had likely orchestrated this whole situation. They'd taken ARIA to get back at Mariah, to manipulate her into something she didn't even fully understand yet. And now, Tessa feared that they were going to use ARIA as leverage against her, or worse, against Mariah. As her thoughts swirled, Tessa sat down, her body trembling with fear. The weight of the situation was crushing her, but she had to stay focused. She had to stay strong for ARIA. Meanwhile, across town, Abby and Devon were already deep into their own frantic search for ARIA, but their motivations were far from pure. When they realized that their daughter was missing, the panic was immediate. The tension in the room was palpable as Abby paced back and forth, her breath shallow with anxiety. "Where is she, Devon?" she demanded, her voice strained. "Where is my baby?" Devon ran his hand through his hair, his mind racing. "She can't have just disappeared. We've searched the entire house. Maybe she's hiding somewhere." Abby shook her head, her face pale. "No, she wouldn't do this. She wouldn't leave us." The fear in her voice was evident, but there was something else there, to a growing realization. This isn't like her. Something's wrong. She's been taken. Devon froze. The reality of Abby's words settled in. "Mariah," he muttered under his breath. "She took her, didn't she?" Abby's eyes widened as the truth hit her. "She took ARIA. She's gone with her. Mariah has our daughter." The words felt like a punch to the gut, but Abby could see it now. Mariah had been slipping, unraveling in ways they hadn't anticipated. They couldn't let this go on. They needed ARIA back. Without a second thought, Devon grabbed his phone and made a call to a contact who could help them track down Mariah. He didn't know exactly how far she would have gone, but they had to find her, and quickly. Back at the motel, Mariah held ARIA close, the child's warmth against her chest a constant reminder of what she had done. She had promised herself she would protect her, that she would keep her safe from the world that had so often been cruel. But now, as she looked into ARIA's innocent eyes, the truth of what she had done weighed heavily on her. Her mind flashed to Ian's voice, the twisted encouragement he had given her. She had done it. She had taken ARIA, and now, there was no going back. "You're doing the right thing," Ian's voice whispered in her mind, as if he were right there beside her. "Keep her safe. You can't let anyone take her from you. She's yours now. You protect her." Mariah closed her eyes, squeezing ARIA tighter. "I'll protect you, ARIA. I swear I will." But in the back of her mind, the nagging thought persisted: was she really protecting her, or was she just continuing down a path that would only lead to more destruction? Back in Genoa City, the hours continued to stretch on, filled with the sounds of footsteps and frantic searching. Tessa, Devon, and Abby were all on edge, consumed by the hunt for ARIA. Each of them, in their own way, was caught in a desperate race against time. The walls were closing in, and the fear that had begun as a quiet whisper was now an overwhelming roar. The clock was ticking, and the race to find ARIA before it was too late was on. But in the end, none of them knew just how far Mariah would go to protect the child she had taken. Would they find her? Or was the situation already spiraling beyond anyone's control? The air in the motel room was stale, smelling of dust and old cigarettes, but for Mariah Copeland, it felt like the only sanctuary left in the world. That illusion shattered the moment the door burst open, not with the force of a battering ram, but with the terrifying precision of a mother scorned. Abby Newman stood in the doorway, her silhouette framed by the harsh fluorescent light of the hallway. She didn't scream, she didn't lunge. Instead, she stepped inside and closed the door with a click that sounded like a judge's gavel. Her eyes were cold, devoid of the friendship they had once shared, replaced by a steel-hard resolve that made Mariah's blood run cold. "You think you can just take him?" Abby's voice was low, trembling with a fury she was barely containing. "You think you can just disappear with my son and there won't be a reckoning?" Mariah backed away, her hands instinctively tightening around the small, sleeping form of Dominic pressed against her chest. "I was protecting him," she stammered, her voice brittle. "You don't understand, Abby. I needed to keep him safe." Safe. Abby took a step forward, her heels clicking ominously on the linoleum. "You kidnapped him, Mariah. That is the legal definition of what you did. You stole a child, my child." She pointed a manicured finger at Mariah, her face twisting into a mask of legalistic threat. Do you have any idea what happens next? The police are already on their way. I will make sure you are prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Kidnapping charges? Prison time. You will never see the outside of a cell again. The words hit Mariah like physical blows. Prison. Charges. Never getting out. The walls of the small room seemed to pulse, shrinking inward. No, Mariah whispered, shaking her head violently. I'm his mother too. In a way. I carried him. You were a surrogate, Abby snapped, cutting her off. And now you are a criminal. I will bury you under so many lawsuits and restraining orders you won't even be able to say his name without breaking the law. You have destroyed everything, Mariah. Everything. Abby's voice began to warp, the sharp edges of her threats blurring into a low, buzzing hum in Mariah's ears. The room tilted. The peeling beige wallpaper seemed to breathe, and then, from the shadows of the corner where the light didn't reach, a different voice emerged. It wasn't loud, but it cut through Abby's shouting like a razor through silk. She's right, you know. They always take what's yours. Mariah gasped, her eyes darting to the empty corner. The voice was smooth, cultured, and dripping with a sickeningly familiar malice. Ian Ward. She squeezed her eyes shut. Stop it, she hissed under her breath. You're not here. Oh, but I am. Mariah, Ian's voice purred, echoing not from the corner now, but from the center of her skull. I'm the only one who is really here for you. Look at her. Look at the Newman princess. She thinks she owns him. She thinks she owns you. Abby was still talking, her mouth moving, her hands gesturing wildly, but Mariah could hardly hear her over the rising cacophony in her mind. Hold him tighter, Ian commanded, his tone shifting from mockery to urgent instruction. He came from you. You felt his heart beat before she ever did. He is yours, Mariah. Possession is 9/10 of the law. Isn't that what they say? Don't let her take him. If you give him up now, you lose him forever. Mariah's grip on Dominic tightened until the boy stirred in his sleep, letting out a soft whimper. She looked down at him, her eyes wide and frantic. The curve of his cheek, the flutter of his eyelashes, it all felt so familiar, so hers. Ian was right. How could this not be hers? She wants to put you in a cage, Ian whispered, his voice slithering around her thoughts. Just like I was in a cage. Is that what you want? To rot away while she plays happy family with your son? No, Mariah shouted, the word tearing from her throat. Abby stopped mid-sentence, startled by the outburst. She took a cautious step back, her anger momentarily replaced by confusion and a flicker of fear. Mariah, who are you talking to? Mariah didn't answer. She couldn't. The hallucination was taking hold, overlaying the dingy motel room with the dark, suffocating atmosphere of her past traumas. The shadow of Ian Ward seemed to loom over Abby's shoulder, a dark specter grinning with yellowed teeth. And what about ARIA? Ian's voice dropped an octave, becoming a venomous hiss. Mariah froze. ARIA, she whispered. You think they'll let you keep her after this? Ian laughed, a dry, rasping sound that scraped against Mariah's nerves. The unstable kidnapper. The woman who hears voices. Oh, Mariah, you've already lost her. Tessa will take her away. The courts will take her away. You are unfit. You are broken. Stop it, Mariah pleaded, tears spilling over her lashes. Don't talk about her. They will take ARIA, and she will grow up hating you, Ian continued, relentless. She called Tessa mommy, and she'll look at your picture and wonder why you are so weak, why you let them win. Unless what? Mariah breathed, her chest heaving. Unless you keep what you have. Unless you prove you are strong enough to protect what is yours. Dominic is here. ARIA is gone. Save the one you can, Mariah. The panic was a rising tide, choking her. Mariah looked at Abby, but she didn't see her friend anymore. She saw an enemy. She saw a judge, a jury, and an executioner. She saw the person who was going to strip her of her humanity. Mariah, give me my son, Abby said, her voice softer now, laced with a terrifying pity. She reached out a hand. To Mariah, the hand looked like a claw. She scrambled back, pressing herself against the cold wall, shielding Dominic with her entire body. Stay back, she screamed, her voice cracking. You can't have him. He's not safe with you. He's only safe with me. Yes, Ian crooned. That's it. Fight for him. Fight them all. Mariah was hyperventilating now. Short, sharp gasps that made her head spin. The room was spinning. Abby's worried face, the flickering TV, the water stains on the ceiling, all of it swirling into a vortex of color and noise. The line between reality and the nightmare in her head had dissolved completely. She couldn't tell if the cold sweat on her skin was real or a memory of the dungeon Ian had once kept her in. She looked down at Dominic again. In her distorted vision, his face seemed to morph, shifting between Dominic and ARIA, and then back again. The love she felt for him surged up, hot and overwhelming, colliding violently with the icy terror of Ian's whispers. They are all against you, Ian said, his voice echoing as if in a great cavern. Tessa, Abby, Sharon, they all think you're crazy. Show them you're the only one who knows the truth. I'm not crazy, Mariah sobbed, rocking back and forth. I just want peace. I just want everyone to be safe. There is no peace, Ian sneered. Not while they are coming for you. Mariah looked up, her eyes wild, darting around the room, searching for an exit that didn't exist. She felt cornered, a wounded animal trapped by hunters. The air was too thin. The walls were too close. Mariah, please, Abby said, taking another step. You're scaring him. Dominic had woken up. He began to cry, a high, thin wail that pierced Mariah's heart. She's making him cry, Ian whispered. She's hurting him. Do something. Mariah looked at the crying boy, then at Abby, then at the empty corner where Ian's voice originated. She felt a profound, shattering crack deep within her psyche. The logic of the world laws, friendships, biology fell away, leaving only the raw, pulsating need to hold on. She stared at Dominic, her expression softening into something terrifyingly vacant yet intense. It was a look of absolute, obsessive devotion. She brushed a tear from the boy's cheek, her hand trembling. It's okay, she whispered to the boy, though her eyes were locked on Abby with a chilling intensity. I won't let them take you. I won't let anyone take anything from me ever again. Ian's laughter echoed one last time, triumphant and loud, as Mariah sank to the floor, curling around the child, waiting for the end of the world to begin.